You're listening to Bigfoot Society, and I'm Jeremiah Byron. Tonight's story doesn't come from the mountains of the Pacific Northwest. It comes rather from the marshes and powerlines of eastern Maryland, where something's moving there that shouldn't be. Derek's not a camper or a hiker. He's a brick mason, a father, and a man who spent years walking the same trails near Easton, until one day something screamed and shook a 50-foot pine. What followed were 10 years of encounters, wood knocks, stacked rocks, glowing eyes, and the moment he saw a black figure glide across the power line corridor at impossible speed. This isn't folklore. This is Eastern Maryland, so stay with us. All right, Bigfoot Society, we've got the privilege of talking to Derek today. Derek's an individual that reached out to me. He's a listener of the show, but specifically he wanted to share some things he has experienced over the years over in Eastern Maryland. This is an area that is starting to come out of nowhere. There's some stuff happening, so we're going to hear some more about that today. But Derek, welcome to the show. How's it going, man?
It's doing well, man. I thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure and an honor, and I've been a fan for a long time, and in the Bigfoot research, or no, I wouldn't say research, but Bigfoot activity for like 10 years, and it's awesome to get my stories out.
I love it, man. This area, I'm excited to hear from you and about this East Maryland area. And it is kind of weird. I mean, I think I've even just recently talked to a Delaware guy too. And then you've got the Southern New Jersey stuff. I wonder if it's all connected. I don't know. But, I'm going to go ahead, Derek, and pass things over to you so you've got the time to share what you've experienced over these 10 years.
Great. I appreciate it. Yeah. So, gosh, man, to start from the very beginning. So I was in Caroline County, which is, I live in Talbot County. It's Easton, Maryland. So in Caroline County, that's where I used to deer hunt, right? So my grandparents used to have a big 500-acre farm right on the Choptank River. And so we were getting ready for deer season, the beginning of deer season, and I was 11 years old. And so when I was walking to my stand, right, I jumped something very large, which is not unusual because we used to jump deer all the time. And so I couldn't find my stand that morning. It was so funny. I had my little mag light, I just saved up enough money to buy this Mossberg pump shotgun. And so I'm sitting in this little bush pile of briars. And so I couldn't find my stand, and next thing you know, something opened up behind me with this, like, it sounded like a fire whistle. Like I just imagine I'm just a young man, like 11 years old, and it sounded like a large cat. I mean, it was like, it starts real low and then went real extremely high. And so I turn around, and it's shaking this 50-foot loblolly pine, just shaking it. And I'm like, what in the world? And it screams twice at me, and like extremely. And it was very traumatizing for a young man. And so when I was deer hunting with my brother, I said, man, did you hear that screaming going on behind me? I mean, I ended up staying because my brother was like, hey, you're going to meet me at the truck at this point, and being an Eastern Shorener, you do what your brother tells you to. So anyway, I was like, did you hear that screaming that was going on behind me? He was like, no. I come to find out that he was in my grandparents' house sleeping on the couch. He just took me there to drop me off to go deer hunting. But in any case, he was like, and so I explained everything to him, and he was like, no, what happened was, because I used to carry scent glands on me, right? We would kill deer like during bow season and cut the scent glands off and put them around our ankles so it would mask the scent going to our stands. And he said, no, what happened was another male deer smelled these scent glands and got real agitated with you, started getting mad and started scraping his antlers against the bushes. And I was like, no, that's not what I saw. That's not what I heard and not what I saw. And I'm trying to explain this to him, and he just immediately shut me down. So I just stopped, I just stopped. And I knew something was out there. I knew this was at the age of 11 in 1986. I knew something was out there. And So fast forward a little bit to 2015, roughly. I hear the same scream on the internet. Some lady at a landfill, the big feet were getting excited because they were dumping some trash off late at night, and then want them in their area. So they started screaming and carrying on, and I'm like, that's the same scream I heard when I was 11 years old. And so now I'm getting into it. I'm listening to Scott Carpenter. I'm listening to Bigfoot Outlaws, right? You know what I mean? Because I'm excited, you know what I mean? Because they're in my area. I know they're in my area. I want to go back over to my grandparents' farm and, go exploring and looking for them. And so as I'm listening to Scott Carpenter and Kumbo and Bear, right? They were giving little details like, about bows and brakes. And of course, you got footprints and Indian trees, which is very unique. And so, I was like, man, I've seen these before. I've seen trees bent over, and I've seen breaks, and I've seen twists, and I've seen this stuff. And so, as I live in city limits of Easton, and one day I'm walking down my trail, and I come across a bow. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, that's crazy. I come across another bow. I come across a break. Then I come across another bow. And then I come across something that really struck me was stacked rocks. And so as I'm looking at these stacked rocks, my sister's with me. And I said, Rosemary, I said, look at these stacked rocks. And these weren't average rocks that you find on the Eastern Shore. These are rocks that you would find in the mountains, because, I've been to the Western Maryland, I've been to Luray, Shenandoah Valley, and that type. These are kind of like a river jack, they call it. And I'm like, these are just odd looking rocks, Rosemary. I said, who would bring these out here and just stack them right next to the human trail? And so she was like, oh, some kids. I was like, I don't see kids doing that. Anyway, so I counted them. They were 13 in total, right? So that'll come back a little later on, right? Because remember, 13. So I said, well, I'm gonna come in here early. I was treating it like deer hunting or hunting any other animal. Like I'm going to go in this area early in the morning, and I'm going to see what I can see first light. So I get up at about 5 o'clock, get dressed. This area is only a mile away from my house. So I start walking, walk down to this little area, right? I mean, the preserve is not that big, maybe maybe it's probably about 500, 600 acres. It's got marsh, deer, turkey. It's got tons of, and you're not allowed to hunt there. So it's a preserve, right? So, it's got plenty of wildlife, plenty of animals, right on a river, right next to a power line, a power plant. It's got a lot of interesting things, and the area is very strange in itself. But anyway, so I go in early that morning, and I go and I'm walking, and something is pacing me in the woods. Right, I'm walking on the paved human trail, and something is pacing me, and I'd walk, and I could hear it walking in the leaves, and when I stopped, it stopped. But keep in mind, it's briars and brush, and still it's like at this time in this period it's about like quarter after 5 in the morning, so it's real dark. I can't see anything, and I didn't take any flashlights. All I took was my phone light, my cell phone. I don't take any weapons. I don't do that. You know what I mean? Because these beings, they can read people, right? They can read intentions. They can see what kind of person you are, right? If they're going to come out and socialize basically with you. So anyway, I go back and I'm sitting on this bench right next to a marsh, and I'm just kicked back, got my newbie on, just sit back and relaxing, and right as it's crack, I can hear people now. walking on the trail, and it's roughly about 100 yards away from these benches because it's kind of deep in the woods next to the marsh. And all of a sudden, I hear this single knock. It was undeniable. The sounds I would hear from like Scott Carpenter or any place on YouTube was just pop, wood on wood. I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. That's crazy, right? They're actually in here. Some is actually in here. So I go home, right? I'm all excited. I got to go to work. I do masonry for a living, so I go to work and I'm excited because we're getting off at 3. I'm coming back. I'm coming back, and I'm coming back to see what I can hear and see what I can see. So that afternoon, I'm coming back into the same area, crossing over this little wooden bridge that comes across a cove or a creek, however you want to say it. And it's daylight now, so I can see everything, and I don't hear anything or see anything pacing me. And all of a sudden, the animals are tamed in this area. Deer, I can walk right up to a deer and basically almost touch it. Rabbits, squirrels, they're all tame because they're because of the human aspect of it. And so all of a sudden, this rabbit in front of me just takes off, just starts sprinting. So now I know something just jumped him, right? Something just jumped this rabbit, and he took off like he was scared. He looked like he was scared. I immediately brake right, and so I brake right in this little tractor trail that goes through the woods and goes to the power line, right? It goes to the power lines. Power lines are roughly about 100 yards wide. Sometimes they keep them mowed, sometimes they don't, right? Most of the time they don't. But at this present point in time, that they were mowed, right? So I had a clear view of everything. It was 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Sun was to my back, so I had a clear view of everything. I get to this field, and I see this person. Well, my first thought was, and I'm just going to be real here. What is this black man running in this field for, and at a high rate of speed? I mean, he was the fastest being I've ever seen in my whole life. I mean, he did about 100 yards in 3 seconds, if that. And I had to process. I went back to those benches and processed what I just saw, because it didn't look like normal running. It looked like he was on skis, right? He didn't have the human pumping legs like when we start to sprint. We pump our legs up and down. It was more of a glide, right? But he was getting it. I mean, he was moving out extremely fast. There's no way you're going to outrun one of these things. No way. I don't know any animal that could probably outrun one of these things. And so creatures, because that's what I believe they are. They a being. I call them beings because I've had numerous strange encounters with them. So this is my very first sighting. Very first sighting. Total dark black, long black hair. I mean, he was black, bare black, solid black, and he stood out because he was so black. And approximately he was approximately, I don't know, maybe 6.5 feet. He wasn't. I don't know if he was male or female, because he was getting it. Had his back to me really, and he was moving away from me. So now I am pumped. Right, this is in 2015. I'm pumped. I'm like, whoa, man! I had my first sighting. This is so awesome. Right. I'm super excited now. Now I want to know everything about him. I want to see what's. I just want to get involved here, right? And I'd go back and tell my friends. I told my wife, told my kids, and it was like everything else. They ridiculed me, laughed at me, thought I was crazy, right? So okay, whatever. But I'm going to enjoy my experiences. I'm going to have a good time out here. So, I started taking the tape recorders out. I started taking cameras out. I started taking all kinds of stuff out. The very next morning, I go in. I'm going to go back in and say I'm treating the same way. I'm going to go back in at 5:30 in the morning, and about 5:30, and I'm going to sit on those benches, and we're going to see what happens. Well, so as I'm walking, they use animals, right? They train crows, they train foxes. I was walking into this area, right, and I'm getting ready to get up to this bridge, and there was this red fox just sitting there. He was sitting right at the bridge entrance. And as soon as he saw me, he just opens up, ow, ow, because they got a strange call anyway, a strange bark. And he would run 10 feet in front of me and start barking at me, run 10 feet and bark. I'm like, man, there's no way that I can sneak in here now. I mean, I just got made. And it just all of a sudden, as I'm sitting there on that bench, I was like, man, he was intentionally sitting there. He wasn't doing anything but intentionally sitting there guarding that bridge and being an alarm for this area. And I'm like, whoa, that was very interesting, right? So that happened that morning. I come in, I just kept coming in. I just kept coming in because more times, the more frequent you come, the more experience you're going to get. You know, it's just like Jesus said, you seek and you shall find, right? And so I'm seeking. I'm going in. I'm going in. And so it's like it was experience after experience. I was hearing rock clacking, right? I would hear first. I would hear people on the trail, and then I would hear a clack of a rock. I was like, man, they're signaling to each other. They are signaling to each other, and so they know English, right? So one time I go in, I'm sitting on the same bench, and I whoop to them, right? When I go in the area, I'm not hiding from them. I know they got sentries. They post up. They post up. So they got trails covered, and so I go into an area. I go into it, and I whoop to them. Whoop whoop. A little better than that, but and about 10 minutes later, I hear one of them come back deep in the marsh. Hey, he just said hey to me. Like it reminded me of the Spanish members that work for us. Like some of them don't know English that well, so we have to point, and I say hey, shovel, and he'll say hey, Paula, right? You know what I mean? And it reminded me of that. Like we're trying to establish a communication here, and that's what it reminded me of. And I'm like, wow, man, that is awesome. They're actually trying to communicate with me, and so it was like experience after experience. So I'm a I'm one night I decided to take my dog out. I had an Australian blue heeler. He just got Lyme ticks disease and passed away. So anyway, I decided to go at 9 o'clock at night and decided to go take him for a walk. And on the same trail, right? And we get over to the area, and I unleash him, right, and he's all excited. He's going to go have a good time. He's going to go smell everything. He's going to go pee on everything. He's going to just go run and run and run and have a good time. Right, he runs across the bridge. Right, he's all happy. I get across the bridge, and he's cowarding. He's cowarding right at the bridge. Right, he's got his tail between his legs. He's staring out into the woods, and he's shivering. I'm like, oh, they're close. They're close. I know they're close. Right, so I leash him back up. I say, all right, Oscar, buddy, we're going to be all right. They're not going to bother us. They're not going to bother us. We're going to enjoy ourselves. And I should have, for his sake, turned around and walked away. But I wanted a better experience. You know what I mean? I wanted, that's just the way it was. I enjoyed I enjoyed this. So we started walking, and we were getting around to the power lines. We had to come around a bend, a sharp bend. And, like I said, the power lines were about 100 yards wide, and they went on for basically to another town. I mean, basically for a couple miles. And so I'm getting ready to turn the corner, and a spotlight from the air hits me, lights me up, lights me and Oscar up. I stare it up at the sky, and next thing you know, it shuts right off. I'm not hearing any helicopter noise, no drone noise, no plane noise, no nothing. And I'm like, oh gosh, this is getting weird now. This is getting real strange. Immediately when I turn that corner, we just keep going, turn that corner. It sounds like two elephants, buffalo, or what do you call them, are rushing me, because now the grass has grown up a little bit. We're a little further in the season. So it's the grass, it's like switchgrass type of grass. And it sounds like they're rushing me, and it's two of them. And all of a sudden, and my dog's freaking. He's freaking. He's crying. He's trying to get away. He just wants to leave the area. He wants to leave so bad. I'm like, sit, calm down, Oscar, man, calm down, buddy. It's gonna be fine. They're not gonna bother us. Well, they stop right before the grass ends, and next thing you know, one of them opens up 70 yards behind them, starts screaming. I mean, screaming, yelling to. I mean, and next, he screams once, then he screams twice. My dog, that's the second scream. My dog pulls, breaks his leash, breaks the collar, and he takes off. He takes off like a bat. And leaves me standing there. So now I'm by myself. My dog's gone, and he's on his second scream. He sounds like he's going to scream again, and I'm hearing this motor start, whoa, because I'm right next to a creek, right next to a cove, right, and whoa. I was like, and it sounded like an ATV. I thought it was a quad. I'm like, oh shoot, we got DNR back here. Because you're not supposed to really be on this trail. It's a dusk to dawn trail. I'm like, oh man, I don't want any problems with the DNR. I mean, I don't want to get a fine or a reprimand or whatever. But because I don't have my dog now, he just broke free from me, and so and plus I got something screaming and yelling at me. Well, I come to find out it was a boat. He was a fisherman fishing down in that creek. He was doing late night fishing, and heard they screams. He ended up screaming 4 times, and he didn't even bother. Uh, um, he slammed that motor, that throttle down on that motor. I mean, he didn't even let it warm up. Oh, floodlights came on, the whole creek lit up, and he was getting out of there. It was funny. It was really funny. And so I'm walking, talking to him the whole time, right? Because I'm going to be honest with you, it was pitch black, no moon. I just had a spotlight light me up. I just got screamed at 4 times. My dog broke free from me. I was a little nervous. No, of course I don't carry weapons on me. I don't really carry a light except my cell phone flashlight. And so I was a little nervous. I was a little scared. And so, I mean, I'm talking to him the whole way. All right, guys. Hey, look, sorry if I mess something up, mess one of your hunts up, just let me get out of here. I won't come back here late at night again. Just let me out of here. And I was talking to them the whole way because they understand you, right? They understand what you're saying to them. They had all this time to peek in windows. They had all this time to watch people on trails. They like watching people, right? And so anyway, I get to that wooden bridge, and I see that guy. He just came up underneath of it, and he's just heading on out of the cove, and he's nailing it, right? He's with his little outboard motor, and I'm like, oh shoot, I gotta find my dog. Well, he was probably another 100 yards up, next to a power plant, next to a substation power plant. underneath of the high pressure sodium, like he was shivering and shaking. It traumatized and petrified him. He was something else. I basically almost had to carry him home, and he would never go for night walks again with me. That was that's how bad that traumatized him. But so these I leave gifts for him. No, I wouldn't say gifts. Like I give them. I do. I give them food and things like that. And in the 10 years that I've been doing this, I've probably received two things. I received an owl feather and a rock. Man, they love all kinds of things. If you want to get them to take whatever you got, they love bacon grease, bacon, honey. Oh man, they love honey. They can't stand raw tomatoes, raw carrots, cabbage. They don't like any of that. But anything sweet, cookies, of course, like that. I mean, I don't feed them. I try to be conscientious about, if I want to feed my own kid too many cookies or not, I give them apples and bread and all kinds of things like that. You know what I mean? Grapes, blueberries. I tell you what, they like bananas, which was shocking. So I put a banana out there, and if they didn't like something or they didn't want something, they throw it to the ground. They threw the banana down, right? So I came back and I showed them. I did a demonstration. I said, look, it's a fruit and it's good, and I peeled it, and I ate the first banana, and so I brought a banana the next day, and left the banana there. The very next day I came back, it was peeled exactly the same way, because I peel it from the bottom. I peel it a different way than most people, and it was peeled exactly the way I showed them. Peanut butter. They didn't know how to for some reason they didn't know how to open the jar, and they didn't know. I don't know. I guess didn't know what it was really. So I took a stick, put I held it up and told them it's a screw. I mean, I'm talking to them like I'm talking to anybody else. It's a screw on top. I showed them how to screw it on, how to screw it off, and I took a stick, and put it on top of the top, and left it there for them. And they next day they came and unscrewed the top. I still can't find the top. The bottle was about 30 yards away from the tree, lit completely clean, like super clean. But yeah, gosh, I've had so. I'm telling my friends and family about the adventures and the exciting. You're welcome to come out with me. You can come on out, and I'm getting ridiculed and laughed. So one day I'm like, I am going to get proof and evidence this time, because I come across breaks and structures and things all the time, and I'm going to start taking pictures, and I'm going to start showing you guys. I want to show you guys and what's going on out here, right? And if you're not going to come with me, you're going to at least stop making fun of me. So I'd take my camera out, I start popping pictures, right? And so I'm methodically on a Sunday afternoon. I remember this. Taking a picture. I took a picture of an A structure. Then I took a picture of some breaks and some bows and some twists. I got a picture of a footprint, right? Two footprints, a size 13 and a size 9.5, or roughly 9.5, right? And they were almost stepping in each other. That's some of the tricks they use, stepping in each other's footprints, all kinds of stuff, to mask their, their prints. They walk on clobs of grass and pine needles, right? I've seen them. I haven't personally seen them, but I witnessed footprints that are way out in like the field, so like they would have to climb this tree to jump on this grass. I'm pretty sure they can leap a good distance, but carry on, right? So going through each item, pop, taking pictures, right? I'm getting a lot of pictures, because I'm going to show people. And so next thing you know, I'm getting a bunch of crows above me just start sounding off. They're just sounding off. The alarm has been set, right? And I'm like, oh gosh, you know what I mean? And I'm looking up, going, this is my first. I know they use that fox. There was no question in my mind they use that fox um for an alarm, like an alarm dog. And so now I'm looking up and I'm like, I bet you they're using these crows too, right? And to keep an eye on me, because they would just circle, in the area that I was, right? And this was during the springtime. So it was, I would say right around mating season, or possibly I found out they had a kid and children in the area that I was trying to get into. And so I'm walking past. I'm going down to a pinch point now, right? I'm walking, and the pinch point was between this phragmite grass, which is marsh grass, and honeysuckle, right? And there's a small trail that goes through it, and I'm determined to go through it because I haven't been through this before, and I know in my heart there's something in that deeper part that they just don't want me to see, right? So as I'm walking, once again, I hear like two buffaloes rushing this grass, right? And it's broad daylight, right? And they stop right before I know a visual, right? I always do, you know what I mean? Because I got my camera this time, I'm taking pictures of you. And one of them grabs a clump of grass with his hand and shakes it, and I look at it, and he does it again, right? And so I'm getting an indication, I'm getting a bad feeling, right? I'm not to go down in there. I'm not to go in this pinch point. I'm not to go where I was heading, because there's something going on here, and I just had a bad feeling, and I'm like, man, I'm not going to be able to do this. So I'm backing out. I'm walking backwards, right, and I'm speaking to him the whole time. All right, look, I'm sorry again. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to intrude on you. Whatever you got going on, I hope you have a great day. And as I'm walking out, I'm popping pictures. I'm popping pictures. And so when I start blowing these pictures up, I count 13 of them. I got 13 different faces. And I got type 1s, I got type 2s, and I got type 3s. One had the type 3 had a snout, like he looked just like my German Shepherd. It looked like my blue heeler in the face, and he had his hands. They were skinny, and they looked like grappling hooks, large grappling hooks. And his kid was right behind him. His mate, I guess, was holding his kid, because it was the only kid. There was two kids in there, but the kid had it looked like my Chihuahua in the face, right? Smaller in stature, of course, not quite like my Chihuahua, but had like a wild look in his eye, like it was lost or wild, and a lighter brownish color, lighter than the rest of them. The rest of them were just solid black, and the mother that was holding it looked kind of like Down syndrome. She had one eye was higher in elevation than the other. It looked real strange, and they were bulging out. They were bulging out. And so these faces that I was looking at, right? So that those two, and they're all leaving human footprints, right? I've never come across a large canine print in this area. I've never heard any howling or any type of like canine activity. They're all and like I said, they're all human footprints. And so I'm staring at it, I'm like, whoa, 13. And now I remember those stacked rocks, right? Those stacked rocks. I'm like, and I was like, those stacked rocks there's 13 of them. And the little ones, there was two kids, but one was a little bigger than the other one, which one was like the one she was holding looked like an infant, kind of an infant. I was like, I bet you that 13, that smaller stone on that stacked rock was a birth announcement because of the this because it was all making sense now. That's how I was looking at it. I'm like, whoa, that makes sense to me, right? Because there are 13 of them. I got 13 of them in this photo. They're all in fragmity grass, right? They were all staring out at me. And the smallest one, the infant, was that small rock, that birth announcement. And I'm like, wow, man, that is that's different, right? And that's and I come across that once before in Swallow Falls National Park, State Park in Western Maryland. They have a sign there that says don't mess with the stack, don't disturb the stacked rocks. And I asked the ranger there, it's like who who would be stacking rocks? Well, why would there be rock stacked? And at the time, I was wearing my I believe in Bigfoot shirt, and he just looks at my shirt and he smiles at me. He goes, something with hands, and he just smiles, and I understood. I didn't take it any further because there was plenty of signs, breaks, bows, everything. I found some interesting stuff in that area as well. They're frequenting that area is also. So now, so now I got photo evidence. I got pictures. I'm blowing faces up for my family. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. And what I come to find out is you can have a selfie with the big boy himself, and people are just going to believe what they want to believe, right? I'm still getting ridiculed, man. I was accused of things from Photoshopping, which I'm not technologically savvy, man. I don't know anything about anything when it comes to that. And so I was like, okay, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. And every time I see one, every time I think I see one, I'm going to just start popping pictures. Um, you know, they have a extreme odor, right? You know how people say they smell like garbage. The other night, my wife was telling me, Derek, did you take the garbage out? Did you miss? She asked me, she goes, did you miss garbage day? And I was like, no, why? She goes, because it smells like garbage underneath of our window. And underneath of our window, we have them. We have a group of them that are around my house, right? Because I live in a townhouse which borders like the marsh and trees, a river, power lines, on the other side of these guys of this other group. And I've caught eye shine when I start my car up sometimes at night in the trees. I'm not in this like little hedgerow in my backyard. I've got pictures of them standing there watching me. Right? I mean, it's not really scary for me anymore because I've 10 years of this and I've seen a lot. I've been bull charged once by a little one. Man, I took my dogs down to this little marshy area right by next to my house, and so this deer is walking by us, this doe, and I'm like, and the dogs are just, it was a beautiful scene. It's very scenic. And we were sitting there watching. Me and the dogs were sitting there. Me and my Chihuahua and my Blue Heeler were sitting there watching. And I was, oh guys, look at this! Look at this! This is so beautiful, right? And they're so tame. She just walks on by. She makes a right and goes down into the marsh. Well, all of a sudden I hear this commotion going on, and I yell at her, "Hey, what's going on?" Right? And next thing you know, the doe pops back out, but now her back right leg has been bent and twisted. right? It's been bent and twisted. It's now deformed. She's on 3 legs now, and she trots away, and I'm looking in. I'm looking in. All of a sudden, this little guy. He's about 4.5 feet. And I didn't get a clear view of him. It was a quick glance of them because they're super quick. They're super quick. I mean, they are fast. Runs in between this little opening. He was a light brown, right? Light brown in color. And he didn't like what happened because I guess I just ruined his hunt, or I don't know what happened. And he comes to the edge, and he starts shaking the grass on me and my dogs. My dogs, Oscar, the blue heeler, is starting to back up because he's got traumatized once, and he doesn't. And this is broad daylight. This is broad daylight, and my chihuahua just doesn't know what's going on. She's confused, and so I yell into her. I said, "Look, I'm sorry that I messed your hunt up, but look, please dispatch that doe, that deer that you just twisted that leg up, because that's inhumane, and it wouldn't, just don't leave her like that. Do something about it, please." So I come back down. We this is an area that we frequent all the time. I come back down 2 days later, and that same doe has been dispatched because her neck was bent around, right, broken, and is now laying there, just laying. I mean, laying there, right, laying there because the same back right leg was twisted up, and the dogs are smelling it. And I believe the Bigfoot listened to me and said, "Okay, man, I understand, and we're going to do this." And so, man, I'll tell you this, it's been interesting things like this. I've had so I'm on all kinds of sites, Bigfoot sites, and I'll just throw in comments here and there, I mean, like, hey, it looks like a bow, or if a person's having a problem, right, because I one time this person was having a situation with some of these guys in Harper's Ferry, West Virginia, and she I was throwing some terms out, so they understood that I understood that what was going on, because it's very cryptic, because you don't want to get ridiculed or made fun of. I understand that. I've been made fun of and ridiculed for 10 years because of this. But so the lady got a hold of me on Messenger on Facebook, and so she describes that at early in the morning hours, 2, 3 o'clock, sometimes 4 in the morning, that something screams at her in her window, waking her up, right? Early in the morning, right? And then it slaps on the house sometimes, or bangs on the house. That's what she said, how she said it, and walks on the roof. I'm like, oh, okay. So I was just frank with her. I said, it sounds like you're having a Bigfoot situation. I mean, I don't know. She said she's never got a visual on them. She never had any. I said, well, she invited me to come and help her, and I was like, okay, all right. So it was during COVID. You might as well, right? Go camping. We went camping. Me and my sister went camping at Harper's Ferry. Very nice. So I go there, and she's explaining everything to me, and I'm like, hey, have you gone into any area, any deep areas in the woods? No, no. They own like 25 acres. Have you removed anything in in these woods? Pulled a stone, pulled something. I messed with a tree leaner, like a property marker, what I call it, because they put property markers up, large trees that are leaning against other trees. I mean, you could see them riding down the road. And sometimes the trunks are up in the tree rather than on the ground. So something big is doing this. She was like, no, 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 we haven't done anything. I said, well, okay, is your Is your husband a hunter? Oh, absolutely. I said, did he have a good harvest this year? She said, yeah, he had a good harvest. I said, well, did he harvest more than he usually does? And she said, yes, yeah, he harvests 3 more than he normally does. I said, well, then you're taking food off their table. And that's how they're viewing it. That you're and it can be a very bad situation. But listen, I'm going to come. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to get the gentleman, your husband, because he's the alpha, he's the dominant, he's the man of the house. And we're going to, you have any venison left? Yes, we do. We're going to load up a trash bag full, right? We're going to load a trash bag up full. And your husband, we're going to walk into the woods. We're going to find one of the structures, right? So they had a tree, 2 oak trees that were pushed together, making an X up very high up top. Not a big X, but like a small X that's on top. So I said, we're going to go to this area, and you're going to tell them that all of their activity towards you guys will stop in the name of Jesus, and you're going to give them this bag. And if there's and you're going to give them this bag of meat, because you're taking food off the table, and this is the compromise we're going to do, and you're not going to harvest any more than what you've been doing, because you haven't had any problems prior, correct? And so they did this, right? They did this. We go back, my sister and I, we go back that same night, and we set up our tent. We're about a mile outside of Harper's Ferry on the Potomac. And so I go into I'm a dead sleeper. I sleep hard. I'm dreaming. I'm dreaming of a Bigfoot inviting me to around, sitting down on this log, and he's telling me that he's peaceful, and he's telling me that he appreciates everything. And I wake up in the morning going, what in the world? I think I've done this. I think I'm going out too much, because now I'm dreaming about him. My sister said, Derek, did you hear the people that are walking around our tent last night? I said, Rosemary, we're the only ones in this campground. We're the only ones in here. Who would be walking around our camps? Because I don't know, but it was like early in the morning, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I said, oh man, now they can invade. I feel that they're different. They have abilities that are way beyond ours, right? If you believe that David Pilates, Scott Carpenter, and Dr. Ketchum, about their scientific study, right? Which I truly do believe, because of these experiences I'm having. These beings are very, very advanced than we think, right? I feel that they can invade your dream space, right? Or it's a conscious state, right? How you astroplane, and I don't astroplane because I'm a born again Christian. I don't do anything like that. And so and it reminded me of a time, because I grew up in a haunted house, and this demon would invade my dream space, tell me he's going to kill me, that he would shake my bed all the time. Poltergeist activity, stuff would be thrown around my room all the time, right? I mean, it scare me, right? And that he couldn't wait till I come see him. I guess he was telling me I was coming to hell, but whatever. And that he was going to kill me.
Hold on real quick.
And
did you just say
absolutely.
Did you just say the name of something, or our audio just started going super crazy in the last few seconds?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I said in Jesus' name.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Other than that, man. Yeah. And I've been telling you that
it did not like that.
Yeah, these are different beings. Very different, right? You know what I mean? So, like I said, I live in Easton, Maryland, and we have a town close to us called Royal Oak, Maryland. and we were big in the South, right? We were a slave. Half Maryland was slave holders, half wasn't. Well, the Eastern Shore was, which I live on, were slave holders. So there was this big slave plantation. Had a lot of Indian activity on it before. So I believe the land's cursed. The people were having spiritual problems, right? And since I've become a born again Christian, I lay hands on people. I pray for places. I like doing this. I fast for people. And anyway, so I went to this area, and first thing I noticed is they had a lot of Bigfoot. They had a lot of signs, a lot of tree leaners, a lot of bows, breaks, Indian trees. They had all kinds of stuff. And but they were having spiritual problems as well. Like they demon activity, poltergeist activity, disembodied voices, all kinds of stuff going on. So I started fasting. I fasted for 7 days straight, just water, and I got on the land, and I started circling and praying in spirit, just praying, and laying hands, anointing with oil, because just doing what the word says, the instructions in the word. And so now, I sleep on the land, right? I told them I'm going to be sleeping on the land. I'm going to put a tent on there. I'm just not going to leave until this is ratified. This is settled. And so, and they agree, because I'm trying to help them. I don't want anything from them. I don't want to ask for money or anything like that, because Jesus has already paid the price. And so I'm continuously praying. So I go into another vision. I call them visions, but I'm dreaming. I know I'm out. I don't know. I believe I'm sleeping, but whatever the case, five of these creatures enter a room that I'm in, and they tell everybody to leave. They lock the door behind them. And so I immediately go up to all five of them. I shake their hand and tell them God bless them. And all of them shake my hand, telling me God bless me, except the very last one. The very last one grabs my hand and squeezes it. I wake up the next morning, and my right hand that I shook his hand with is hurting. It's on fire, like it's been crushed. So then the leader, the one that I'm talking to, tells me that we hear that you've been fighting, and it looks like you got a good left. And I said, well, I'm not left-handed. I'm right-handed. So you wait until you see my right. And immediately, all activity. I wake up. I come up out of his vision. I come up out of his dream. Immediately, it seemed like the sun was shining bright on this place. The atmosphere changed. Everything just changed. Right. The people were felt safe. They said they didn't have any more problems. I haven't checked with them, but I'm pretty sure in the name of Jesus that everything was ratified and taken care of. And I believe these in some cases that these, you got, just like people, you got good ones and you got bad ones. And sometimes, and they got abilities. They have abilities. They're just not flesh and blood. I heard a pastor on your program said, if they were spiritual, why would they need to eat? Well, ask them, why did the Lord and the two angels eat with Abraham before they went into Sodom, right, and Gomorrah, or the angel ate with Gideon, right? And so and I believe they don't personally need to feed as well, because you can use alternative power sources like the earth. I've seen a lot of tree limbs, tree leaners on power lines, right? Something's putting them there, right? Just not the wind, because I've come across quite a few of them. I believe that they're using energy, right? Because they're an energy being. I believe they're an energy being, a high energy, high frequency being. I put binoculars on one of them's head one time, and I saw his hair shimmering, right? Another word for shimmering is vibrating. I saw it vibrating back and forth, right? So now I know he's masking light, right? He's using light as camouflage. right? He's using vibration as camouflage. And that's why we can't see him all the time. And I'm like, whoa, and because I've had them pop in and I've had them pop out. Um, I've this one area where they're peaceful, right? The ones I come across and what I believe is when you find an area that has a bow in it, I believe that these are peaceful people, right? Because God places the rainbow in the sky for a covenant, right? A peaceful covenant. And I believe they understand this, and that's why they put their bows out, because they're a peaceful covenant people, and that's how they want to be treated. They want to be pretty much left alone. But if say for instance myself or others have come across them and treat them with respect, they're going to treat you with respect, right? And that's they've never scared me, grabbed a hold of me. I mean, they screamed at me, of course, right? Because I may be messing up a hunt or messing something up for them, or possibly. I mean, who wouldn't get angry, right? I mean, if I was eating a Big Mac and you came and grabbed it from out of my mouth, I'd probably get a little angry too. And like I said, these are just people. I believe they're people that hold a high level of ability. Because like I said, that study, it's proven, right? It's proven, the DNA study that they had a human mother, but the father is unknown. And I believe that. I truly believe that, because these guys are something else, man. They got a sense of humor. I was in Luray, Virginia, in Shenandoah Valley. Once again, COVID. My sister and I were going to go take some time off. We go run a cabin way out in the middle of nowhere on this mountain. We have to go over a mountain and go down a little valley. And so we're in the backside of the mountain on this little valley. We get there late because she had to work, and she works in the OR. But anyway, so we get there. You get there late, and all of a sudden, there's whistling going on. Like it doesn't sound like, it's not birds. It's not birds, right? And it sounds like somebody's whistling each other, right? And or you whistle to your dog. And my sister goes, "Who in the world would be out here whistling?" I said, "Rosemary, that's them. They're talking. They're communicating with each other." She goes, "Are you serious?" I said, "Yeah, I'm serious. That's some of the things they do. They whistle at each other, right? It's like and I believe the Indians learned this stuff from them, right? Because these are old beings. These are old beings. That's what I believe. If they had an angel for a dad, father, because they're large, they're fast, they got infrasound, which they're hitting you with negative energy, right? Because that's what that infrasound is radiology, right? Or radioactive, right? Because you get sweats, you get vomit, because I've been hit by it. You get confused, you get dazed, and you just don't feel good. And these are all symptoms of radioactive being hitting you with radiology, radioactive material, or the energy that they emit. And so my sister was like, "Wow." I was like, "Well, I have a feeling that these guys are not done, Rose. I have a feeling." So we're watching NCIS. It was so funny because we're out in the middle of nowhere with our satellite TV. That's how we're roughing it, watching NCIS. And now all of a sudden, it's about midnight, maybe 1 a.m. One of them slaps the side of the house. I mean, it was boom. The whole house shook, the whole cabin shook. And nonchalantly, because like I said, she grew up in the same house I did as a kid of this haunted house, right? We saw stuff, we saw beings and stuff being thrown across the room and things like that. Nonchalantly, she looks over at me and goes, "What in the world was that?" And I was like, "One of them just smacked the house." She goes, "One of them just smacked the house." I said, "One of them just smacked the house." She goes, well, I hope they don't do this type of stuff when I try to sleep. I said, well, let me go outside and yell to them and see if you just talk to them, because they understand English. They understand you. They understand what you're saying. And so I walk out to the balcony and I yell out, okay, guys, okay, that's funny, because what I picture is you've got a couple teenagers, or a couple juveniles up on that hill, up on that mountain, and you got some rookie or some new people, right, some newbies, and they're up there going, go ahead, man, go ahead. I bet you're not gonna smack that house. I bet you won't go there and smack the house. And they're egging the other one on. I bet you won't go. I bet you're not going. I bet you won't do it. Oh yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. And he finally comes down and does it. And he runs back up, and they all giggle and laughing, right? And that's how I envision in the picture, something innocent and something just funny, right? So I that's how I treat it. I go out and I speak to them. Okay, that's cool. But I would appreciate it if you guys don't do that while we're sleeping, because we're here on vacation, and I really like to get some sleep tonight. And I thank you, and I'll see you tomorrow. And so no problems at night. And so my sister is a smoker, and she gets up early and goes down to the bottom of the steps, and there is a stick glyph, right? And this is the first time I've encountered this, which was it appeared to be like a broken arrow, like it had a like a stick laid down. It had like two small sticks. It looked like an arrowhead, and then it looked like the feathers on the back, but no feathers, but stick. They used smaller sticks, but it was intentional. And I came down, right? Came down with a cup of coffee, and my sister goes, "Hey, did you get up early and do this?" And I look at it. I was like, "No." I said, "That's cool, isn't it?" She goes, "What do you think of that?" I said, "I think they just left us a message." She goes, "What do you think it means?" I was like, "Well, I'm gonna have to research it. We'll have to figure it out." So I research it. The Cherokee were big in that area, in the Shenandoah Valley, right? The Cherokee. So I look up some of their signs, right? And so a broken arrow in Cherokee is peace between tribes. That's what it means, peace between tribes, right? And so now I'm getting, hey, look, we're sorry. We're sorry for smacking the house, having you come out and correcting us. And we're peaceful people, and we just want to let you know that we're not going to cause any more problems. And so and that's how I took it. And I go out, and this is the first time I came across I thought was burial mounds, right? So we in the first area, right? I go down this little valley, I come up on the back side of the mountain, and the whole time I'm getting pebbles thrown at me, right? Or acorns or something's getting chunked at me, smacking trees around me, right? And once again, I'm treating it as these little kids messing around with me. So I pick up some rocks and I start chunking back. I'm throwing back in the same area where I think they're coming from, right? And I just think they're messing with me, so I'm going to mess back a little bit. Nothing comes of it, they don't jump out and grab me or scare me or anything. But I come across this area where it has this large X, right? These two oak trees that are crossed, and this time it's different than the one in Harper's Ferry. It's crossed in the middle, right? So now I'm thinking something different. Now I'm thinking, okay, it means something different. And as I'm walking through, I'm seeing like three large mounds, they're large mounds. You can't, it's undeniable. And I sat there and I thought about it, and the X, I believe, means stay out, because this is our burial ground. And or it's or a sacred area, and don't come in here, please, right? And so once that pops in my head, once I get that message, once I get that understanding, I raise my hand. So I'm sorry again for intruding. I'm on my way out. I go on out, and no problems, no issues. I got them the whole time whistling up on top of the mountain because I'm down in the valley. You know, I come back down through the valley. I got to go back around to my cabin, and the whole time they're whistling at each other. They're making noises. And you know what I mean. And so I get that experience in Luray, and it gets a little bit more knowledge about them. You know, hey, now I'm come back to the Eastern Shore, come back, and I come across this same X again, right? And I in another area, and when I enter this area, it's something's in there. I know something's in there with me. I had that feeling, right? You get that, like, eyes are on you, all that energy. I call it an energy, that eyes are on you, and it's just a vibe, you know. I believe it's an energy that you can release it as well. If you're staring at a person, the person knows you're staring at them. And so I'm walking in, I see these trees X'd, and immediately I'm looking toward the ground, right? I'm thinking, I'm going, well, maybe I was wrong. Maybe maybe that was just a one-time thing. I don't know. Sure enough, I come across one mound, one large mound, just one. And I'm like, oh, wow, that was. So once again, and it was creepy. The area was creepy. No sounds, no animals, no squirrels, no birds. I didn't hear nothing in there. No sound whatsoever. Right? You know what I mean? I heard cars going by and on the highway, but that was about it. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I raised my hand. You know, once again, I repeat the process. And yeah, hey, I'm sorry for intruding. I didn't mean to. It won't happen again. And I walk on out. I walk out. I was given some stuff to one around my sister's house. Right, she lives in that Royal Oak area, right behind a power line. She lives right behind a power line, right next to a river, and has some meets the criteria. Deer, turkey, everywhere. Right, we don't have any predators on the Eastern Shore. No hogs. We have a few coyotes, but nothing. They're not. They don't. They might run another pack, but I've never really. I've heard them yip a couple of times, but that's about it. And so I was feeding a younger one, right? I got a picture of him as well, and he was strange, or he or she. I once again, I didn't get genitalia. It was strange. Look like a monkey, like like one of those spider monkeys, or an oboe monkey, or something like that. It did look like a monkey face. It looked like a monkey head. I've seen them with human face, right? I got a picture on my Facebook of one that has a human face, right? They were peeking out of the switchgrass on me, or the phragmity grass. Two of them were approaching me at this time, and one of them sticks his face out, and I popped the picture. Boom, got you, right? And now I've been showing people. I show people these pictures all the time, right? So now 10 years later, they finally believe in me. Finally, like, oh man, ask me questions about them. My brother's seen one, right? Um, finally seen one, and so he didn't call it Bigfoot. He called it an apparition, right? So he feeds cats in the woods, right? He loves animals, right? Same way all of us. I love animals, and so he goes out in the woods. He feeds like 15 stray cats. He takes them, get us neutered, and things like that. And so he tells me, and he's real cryptic about it, real like nonchalant, like, there, you believe in ghosts? I said, Pete, man, we grew up in the same household. I believe in this stuff. He's, well, man, I saw I saw one. I said, you did? Well, I said, well, describe it to me. He said, man, he was about 7 foot, and he was black, like black as night. And he's described my first encounter. And he was super quick. Super quick. He was like fast, but it didn't run right. It looked funny. And all the cats looked at it as it was going by. It was going by at 50 yards, but it didn't. I didn't see it very long. It was super quick. And I was like, I said, did it make any noise? He said it kind of screeched. It like made some kind of weird noise. And I've heard him make that weird noise that he mimicked. He mimicked the noise, and I've heard him make that noise before. Like they're a this is an urban area. Like I've never heard them howl. Right, you know how they have the Ohio house. I've never heard them. I've heard them high pitched scream. But that's, I guess, when you really make them mad, they're gonna, or upset them, they're gonna let you know. But I've like I said, I've never heard the howl or chatter or anything like that. This is, like I said, this is an urban setting, so I believe they keep things to like a whistle. I've heard like a it's kind of like a barking noise, like a kind of between a barking and a monkey. It's hard to describe, and that's the noise he mimicked to me, and like I said, I've heard that before. I and I believe they also they they manage deer as well, right? I know that sounds strange, but um I mean, there's deer all over the place, and I know they're all over the place, and they're just not taking them down. They're not taking, so if there's 13 large beings just in this one little area, right? There's not, and they're pretty big, right? Right. So one of them is about 9 foot, right? About 9.5 foot, roughly. And you got quite a few more of these guys, right? You would think they would have to eat a deer a night. One of them, a deer, each one of them would eat a deer a night, and the population of these animals would be gone. It would be gone, right? I know they can eat other things. I know they can eat fish and birds and things like that, but the animal population would be gone. So that's why I feel that there is an alternative energy source. They use, like I said, the earth, power lines. I've heard them around power plants all the time. I've seen them, personally seen them. In this area that I go to, I like walking it because it's just the first area that I had my first sighting. And I like talking to them, right? Because I mean, they don't come out and talk to me. We don't carry on a conversation. They never invited me to dinner, but so I just continue like going there, but I've seen other strange things. I've seen people flying drones in the daytime. You wouldn't think it was an odd place because of I mean, it's a great neighborhood, awesome neighborhood. The area is great. It's across from a Target. How bad can it be? You know what I'm saying? But yeah, gosh. Look, Ray. So I've been to like Harper's Ferry, to Western Maryland. Right, that was a good adventure to Swallow River State Park. Gosh, but it's been Tuckahoe State Park, which is in Caroline County. I've had quite a few encounters over there. That's where I came across some canine tracks. Right, then this is the first time I've ever come across canine tracks that were larger than my hand. Like, I have a decent sized hand. I can palm a basketball. All right, so I mean, it's not that bad, right? And these canine tracks were larger than my hand. And once again, I'm with my sister, and I was like, Rosemary, I said, what do you think of this? And the area, so the area was strange. We walked down in this valley, and it's like dead silent, dead quiet. There's like, it feels like no breeze is breathing. It just feels like it's just dead, like, just like some kind of energy, weird energy going on. But once you come up out of that valley, you hit a top point. There is a marker, a tree, a large oak tree, wedged in between, perpendicular, wedged in between, like a fencing, three other oaks, and it's cross membered. I would have to draw it to show you. But anyway, in this valley, we come down to this sandbar, and I come across these canine tracks, and I'm like, huh. Wonder if, and I'm thinking, wonder if this area, that fencing up there was a marker, right? That these the Bigfoot, the big feet, or however you want to say it, left, right, to tell the other being, whoever left those big canine tracks, this is our land, this is our territory, and you're not going to come over here. You can have that, and we're going to take this. And I thought about that. I didn't see anything. I heard some knocking. I heard some knocks. I heard some rock clacking. I saw bows, breaks. I saw all the signs in that area, and they was, it's like everywhere I go. I've seen. I had to make a trip to Baltimore City last week, and you have to go up. Anybody familiar with the area? You have to go up Route 50, which I saw plenty of sign, bows, breaks, tree leaners. You hit 97, which is an interstate. I'm seeing bows, breaks, everything. I hit 295, which is a corridor between Washington D.C. and Baltimore. It's an interstate between them both. I'm catching bows, breaks, things that I can see on the move. And I mean, these beings are everywhere. They're everywhere. I got them on the way to Shenandoah Valley. We had to go around DC 495, and I pay attention, and I'm seeing bows and breaks, and I'm seeing all kinds of things on 495. I'm like, oh man, they're right outside the city's capital, the nation's capital. Last year I did a trip to the CNO Canal, which is a nice trail. It's a trail that goes from Washington D.C. all the way up to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and it goes through Harper's Ferry, it goes through Cumberland, Maryland, it goes through a lot of these places. And so I start traveling, and I'm getting strong smells of urine, like heavy urine. This is not some hobo peeing. This is not some dog. This is something else, something large. All right, so I'm seeing bows and breaks as well. So and this is close to DC. As soon as you hit the trail, right? As soon as you're in DC, you're in Georgetown, and so they're close. They're close to the nation's capital, real close to the White House, like maybe probably 2 miles outside of the White House. That's how close. I'm seeing signs of these beings, right? And so anyway, I go down. I'm walking down the trail. All right, it's going to be a 2-day adventure. I'm walking to Potomac, Maryland, which is 20 miles, and then I'm going to walk back 20 miles. Right, I'm going to do this 2 days. I'm going to do first day. I'm going to do 20 miles. Next day, I'm going to do 20 miles. I'm conditioned, and this is what I'm going to do. And so, like I said, I'm getting heavy urine smell. I mean, super strong, like something's marking its territory, right? And possibly it could have been something else, because I heard on the Dogman encounters with Vic, a gentleman up in that area, gave a report that he saw a dogman, right? Saw one, and he had canine feet. And so and it makes sense, because this was a strong smell. But I got woken up again at like 3 a.m. With them banging on trees. They were knocking on trees, and they were causing a ruckus. Right? They were shaking trees, and they were making. So I yelled to them, "Hey man, will you please stop it? I'm trying to sleep." I had a little jar of honey, and I throw a little jar of honey in the woods. I said, "Please take this and leave me alone." I wasn't there for them. I was there strictly for enjoying the trail, because I heard, I knew they were. I had a feeling that they would probably be there, but I had no idea, and I just wanted to enjoy myself, and sure enough, these guys were there, and man, I'm telling you, it's been a ride. Everywhere I go, I see signs of them everywhere I go. If there's a woods, I'm seeing tree leaners, I'm seeing bows and breaks, twists. Um, especially here on the Eastern Shore. We got some nice Federal Reserve, couple counties over. I was fishing with my dad, and I come across some massive breaks. This tree that was about 2 foot in diameter, this loblolly pine, and it was snapped about 13, 15 feet up in the air, right? So this boy was big. This boy who did this was a big boy, right? Who did this one? Because it was broken over and twisted, right? So I know unless a tornado came through, nothing is gonna do that. Is gonna grab it and then roll it over to a bit. And I've come across a few breaks like that, some big breaks, right? So I know there's some big ones out there, right? I saw his pictures. That gentleman who was he? Mark Paul, right?
Oh yeah,
And
from
they had
Tennessee. Yeah.
yeah. I saw the gentleman that showed the picture of that one to the right, and I'm like, whoa, that's a big one. That had to be 14, 15 feet, right? Am I correct on that?
Oh, it's big. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It looked like a stick Indian. That's what
Mm-hmm.
it kind of looked like, because he looked like a basketball player, like kind of lean. Um, I, I've kind, I I came across something that size, right? And I still I don't really speak on it, because that blew my mind, because I know they're big, but to see something that size, what I mean, would just kind of. I saw him from a distance. I saw his face and his shoulders, or what I thought was shoulders, from maybe 150 yards to, and if he's 14, 15 feet, you're going to see him, right? You're going to see him at 150 yards. And I'm just sitting there staring, going, no, man, there's no way. There's no way there's something that large right here. But if you saw the breaks, I mean, and they got long, man, they got long arms too. They got really long arms. I've had one. So I told you that they can come in and come out,
Mm-hmm.
right? I've personally seen them fade in and fade out.
Okay.
And so one of them, about 30 yards, and I'm just staring out the woods, right? I'm on that bench in that area, and one of them starts to fade in, right? Now I'm seeing a 9 foot large being with his arms longer than his knees, right? He's got a beard. He's got a beard, but he came in humbly. Like, what I mean by that, his shoulders were rolled in, um, just kind of rolled in, and he was bent down a bit. Like he came, and that's how I envisioned it, humbly. And he's coming in slow, right? He coming in real slow, but he's not staring at me. He's not staring at me. He's staring to my right. And so I'm looking to my right. Well, I have there's another little one. A little one. This one was probably about, I don't know, maybe 6 foot. He starts to fade in. This one had big, dark, wild eyes. Like I used to trap, and I used to trap fox. And if you catch them on a foot trap, and you got to dispatch them, they got this wildness in their eyes that it's like kind of scary a little bit. And this is the what I saw in this little one's eyes, right? It never looked at me, and the big one never looked at me. They never took their eyes off each other. Never took the eyes off each other. And I got kind of creeped out, because when I saw the wildness in this one eyes, I just didn't feel right. But they haven't done anything to me. Like I said, they haven't grabbed me. They haven't messed with me. But once again, I stood up, I waved, put my hand up. I said, "Thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you for coming to let me know, and I'll just keep coming out. I'll just keep coming." And so I walk out. I walk out, and it's like a continuous. I got them outside. Like I said, I got them outside my sliding glass door. I live in a neighborhood. I live in a lit up neighborhood. They come in early in the mornings. To get back to what my wife said, they come up to my doorway because I found tracks in my flower bed right next to my sliding glass door. I found a 10-foot, right, 10-foot footprint. Just one to let me know, because they don't have to do that. You know what I mean? I believe that they do that type of stuff to let you know, hey, we're watching. We're part of that watcher class of angel, right? Because that's who they were, the watchers, if you believe the book of Enoch. And we're watching you. We're watching. That's what we do. And so I believe my wife smelled one of them. She was like, "Hey, gosh, it smelled just like trash, trash and dirt, and dog," and she was just describing all kinds of dirtiness. Right? I was like, "Yeah, you probably." I was like, "I took the trash out, and they took the trash, and the trash cans are bleached, so you're not going to get anything from that. You probably smell one of them." Because we're getting into the springtime where their glands are really kicking. I smelled one the other day. If I can smell him, he's close. You know what I mean? He's pretty close to me. And like I said, they don't have to. They don't. I mean, if they're using vibration or vibrating their and masking out their, and plus they are ninjas of the woods. I've seen one up against a tree that looked like he was part of the tree. And if he didn't move, I wouldn't think otherwise. I would have never thought otherwise.
Sorry, can you explain what you mean by he was almost part of the tree, what that looked like?
So it looked like the tree looked like it had two trunks, right? And it had a knob about maybe 8 foot up. Like if you had like a broken branch that broke off, and it was healing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was just kind of a knob sticking out. Well, that's what it looked like. So maybe he had his legs together, and because I saw two trunks, right? So and I know a tree doesn't have two trunks. And another tree wasn't next to it, and he kind of leaned across. He was leaning across the back of the tree, and I believe I was seeing the top of his head, because that looked like the knob. You know what I mean? I believe his face was kind of pointed down at the ground, and possibly he was looking out of the corner of his eye. Because sometimes they're not going to stare you right in the face, right? I've never had one just stare me right in the face.
Mm.
And I mean, this one was off at a distance. I mean, they're like I said, I don't most of them are not bad, but I believe that they want to keep their distance. You know what I mean? Because look, we carry disease, right? You know what I mean? We carry things,
Yeah.
and I believe they understand that, and they don't want to be infected. They don't want to be infected, and and you never know what one of those crazy humans will do. Shoot, I like I said, I had to go to Baltimore City last week, and I would prefer hanging out with these guys rather than some of the streets that I went down. You know what I'm saying? So I know how humans can be. And just because these guys may have different eating habits, grabbing hold of a deer and yanking them apart and sharing them. I mean, I wouldn't share my hamburger with somebody, right? I'm just saying, maybe I probably would, but I'm just saying, they have different ways, and who am I to say they're uncivilized? I know a lot of people that are uncivilized. that,
No,
you know, a lot of
I agree with you. I mean, it's a thing where, I just think if we were to go in the woods for a very, very long time, what might happen to us, right? It would be probably very
yeah.
interesting. Uh, Derek, you have one of the most uh, just a very unique viewpoint and how you're actually going to properties and helping people work through what's going on their properties. I'm sure that maybe a few people that hear this um, might want to talk to you or get your ideas. Is there a way people can contact you, or just
I,
not really?
no, absolutely. You know, when the Lord Jesus changed my heart, I was a taker, but now I'm a giver, right? And I want to help people. I want to help because like I said, I was tormented by a demon when I was a young boy, and I know that's not fun, right? I've been also involved with spiritual cleansing, right? You know, and I don't use sage and things of that nature. You know what I mean? I use what the word says. I anoint with oil,
Mm.
and I pray in Jesus' name, and I command in His name, and we're not going to take it. Type of attitude, the authority, and so absolutely. My email address is derekmarth54 at gmail.com. I'm on Facebook, Derek Marth, right? Easton, Maryland. You can get a hold of me that way. I prefer Facebook because I'm on Facebook just about every day. But you can email me. That's fine. And I would love, you know, at my expense, I would come and help. You know what I mean? And because I heard a lot. I've heard a lot of tragic stories. You know, like on Bigfoot Chronicles. I heard a lot of tragic stories. You know, on Bigfoot Outlaws that I feel that could have been avoided. Like, you know, if you know, because you got territorial disputes, you got taking their food off their table, you got you going on their property because that's their house, going in there and taking things from their house, right? And now, you know what I mean, it could be anything. Anything could set them off, like taking their favorite rock. You know, they could have had that rock sitting there and staring at it as they're staring at humans walking in the trail, and now you just took it and now you got it in your house and they're upset about it. Right? I mean, this could be something simple as that. And I absolutely, I love to come and help anybody anytime. Absolutely.
That's
And
great.
one of the things I do want to say is I went on a trip with my daughter to Washington, D.C. We went to the Smithsonian, and so I had to sit through. She wanted me to sit with her kids. She wanted me to sit through this program on how the human race got started, which I don't believe. You know, they believe in evolution and that we came from monkeys. And so, as this presentation is, they're showing pictures. They're showing pictures of big feet. Early human. They are finding these bones because they're Neanderthal man. That's how they're presenting it as Neanderthal man, and it's a Bigfoot. I've seen like the picture because I took a picture of it on my phone. I was like, I've seen one of them in the woods, and it's Neanderthal man. That's how they're presented. And I was like, no way, man. That is not. That's how they claim that that's where we come from. You know, we evolved from a Neanderthal man, but it was a Bigfoot they showed a picture of, and I'm like, man, that is. Not only are they lying, because I know the government knows. You know, not only are they lying to people, it's because you know you talked to that ranger, and the ranger knew exactly what I was saying.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with me wearing this Bigfoot, I believe in Bigfoot shirt, right? You know, because I don't hide it anymore. Because you know, I was ridiculed for 10 years, and but now people are actually like you know, telling me stories. You know, my daughter told me a story. That she heard one not too long ago, and I knew the area that she heard it in. She was like, "Dad, I heard this large scream, and it sounded like a mountain. It sounded like a cat, large cat." and she told me the area, and I was like, yeah, that's, and I knew, I went to high school with a boy that lived in that area. The gentleman lived right outside of this preserve, and he said he would hear screaming. It was right outside of the town of Oxford, screaming, continuously, every week. I was like, yeah. I was like, you heard it. That's what you were hearing. You were hearing a Bigfoot. He was like, it sounded like a fire whistle. I said, yeah, coming from the woods, right? He was like, yeah, coming from the woods. I had a gentleman tell me, and so as I'm sharing, very confidently, because I'm not afraid to tell him anymore. I got people sharing with me, a gentleman shared that he came across something else, in the woods. It was what he described to me, would be like a rake type of creature, right? He was like a ghoul. That's what he said. Is like tall, white, skinny, lanky, disgusting looking, and mood funny. And I was like, I never personally seen one. So I did some research, looking it up. I showed him a picture, right? And he was like, yeah, that's what we saw. And I was like, that's what they named it. They named it the rake. I was like, I like I said, I haven't personally seen one. I know there's other creatures and other beings. To think that we're the only spiritual beings, or the only beings out here, is ridiculous to me, And some people believe that. Some people believe that, and like I said, you could have the best photo in the world, and people are still going to believe what they want to believe. But yeah, man, I enjoy it. Right, I don't go out looking for them. But I don't go out looking for them. I usually bump into them.
Mm.
That's how it works, right? We come across each other. Um, I'm excited because I'm going into this area next week. We're starting this job, and it's right next to a preserve, and I haven't been in this area, and just by it, I've seen some good sign, and I'm anticipating I'm anticipating something good from this, because it's right next to it, and it's like a house out in the middle of nowhere. You know what I mean? That type of thing.
Mm. Wow.
And yeah, I think it's gonna be exciting. It's gonna be exciting.
Derek, you've experienced some wild stuff, and it'll be really cool to see what you get into in the future. I'd say, definitely, keep me in the loop. Send me an email if anything wild goes on, and maybe we'll even have to catch up with you at a later date in the future. But I just appreciate you coming on the show, sharing everything that you've experienced over the years. I think a lot of people are gonna learn from this.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I really I thank you. I thank you for allowing me to speak my encounters. And it's helpful, to speak it out, of course, and not bottle things up. But I was a type of person that I would tell you anyway. I'd tell you, I don't care if you're going to make fun of me. But I appreciate it, and absolutely. And if anybody needs help, I'm there for them. You know what I mean? You just shoot me an email, shoot me a message on Messenger on Facebook, and I'll definitely get back to you. Definitely. Because that's the type of person I am. You know what I mean? Like I said, I'm selfless rather than selfish now, and I believe in helping people, right? Because people do have problems. It's not only with these creatures, but like I said, spiritual problems.
Mm.
All kinds of things. You know, I go to a Pentecostal church, and you just all kinds of things they tell you there. you know, uh, and so absolutely, just get a hold of me, and I love to come and pray, and because that's the very first thing I do. I start praying. I start praying and fasting for an answer. Help. We need help. We need an answer on the subject, and please deliver one to me, either or to the individual that needs it, because we're asking in your name. We're asking, and you're a good papa, and I know you're going to do it for us. and that's how I treat it. And he hasn't failed yet. He hasn't failed.
Thank you, Derek.
Yeah,
Thank
man.
you.
Absolutely, brother. Sometimes you don't want that door. You don't want it to be open, because sometimes it could be a fight to get through it or to close it. You know what I'm saying? And I recommend that you don't go out with photography and try to seek these things out. You know what I mean? Because you never know what you're going to run into. I'm not a fearful person, but I just don't want I personally lose sleep at night, and I've seen people do that. I've heard of people doing that as well. Like I said, I know what they can do.
But it sounds like it sounds like you've got
But,
a strong power behind you. So,
amen. Power of Christ. That's right. And nothing can shake it. And and it's it's a power like no other. I got power and authority over the enemy. Luke 10:19. And that's how I walk. I walk with no weapons, no lights, but I except on my cell phone. I typically don't go out at night. I don't take walks anymore. I lost my dog to Lyme sticks disease. But I don't typically take strolls out at midnight and through these areas, or 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm not going out there with a shofar, and I'm not blowing any shofars, and I'm not whooping. I will, but I'm not at like 1 or 2 in the morning. Go out in some vacant field trying to call them in, because you call them in, you never know what you're going to get. You know what I'm saying? You might have messed a hunt up. You might have ticked them off, and now they're coming in hot. They're coming in hot on you. And you better have Jesus Christ on your side if something like that happens. That's all I'm saying, because they're pretty big. They're pretty big creatures, and they're fast. Man, I've never seen anything as quick as they are. And when they hit all fours, I never mentioned that I saw them hit all fours. They are strange looking, right? So their heads are up, right, because they got long arms, but their legs are moving awkward. It looks like they got hip dysplasia or something when they're running. But they can move it. They don't have hip dysplasia. because they can move it. You know what I mean? But they can get it. But yeah, it's and so I try to make people aware, right? Hey, don't have any in my area. Well, look, do you have? I show them a picture of a bow. Do you have any of these? Do you have something that's holding that's bending a tree and wedging it underneath of another tree or a rock or something, holding it down? Do you have something looks like this? Well, maybe yes, no. Do you have something that has grabbing another tree and broke it and snapped it, and it's leaning? Or do you have an Indian tree? Right? Not too many people are familiar with Indian trees. This area that, like I said, that I first encountered them in has tons of Indian trees, and I know there's no Indians out there, right? I know they're not. There's no teepees, and we don't have any teepees going on. So something is going on, right? Anyway, but yeah, I enjoyed talking to you, and I'll definitely keep you informed. And if anybody has any problems, just send them my way, and I will be happy to get in my car, get on a plane. I do what it takes. And I'll get to you, and together we will resolve the situation.
Derek, thank you so much for chatting again, and we will definitely be in touch. And it's been fun hearing your story today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and you have a good night.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Just wanted to take a minute to say thank you truly for listening to this episode of the Bigfoot Society podcast. Derek's story stuck with me from the first moment not just for how many sightings he's had, but for the emotional honesty in the way he tells them. Whether it was the terrified dog, the fox standing guard at the bridge, or the 13 faces in the grass, these stories remind us that something out there may be watching us back. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to us on YouTube and hit the bell so you don't miss what's next. And if you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, tap the follow button, subscribe, and leave a review. It helps more folks find the show. Now, if you or someone you know has had a Bigfoot encounter, especially in Maryland, Delaware, or along the East Coast, shoot me an email at bigfootsociety@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. And hey, don't forget Sasquatch Summerfest is coming up July 11th through the 12th in Oak Ridge, Oregon. Bigfoot Society listeners can get a 2-day pass for the price of one with code BFS at checkout. Tickets are available at www.sasquatchsummerfest.com. Thanks again for being part of the Bigfoot Society. Until next time, keep your eyes open, trust your gut, and never stop asking what else might be out there. And see you in the woods.